So moving forward, final movie is a movie that actually I should have been covering. This is
Yes,
my
you
fault.
should have.
I missed out on it. Eric actually he was realizing how irresponsible I am on a given week and how many movies I missed. Kudos to Eric Holmes for picking up the slack this week to review a movie called The Critic. And ultimately it's set in 1934 London. Sir Ian McKellen, I believe, or Ian McKellen, or however you want to say it. He plays Jimmy Erskine, the city's London's most feared drama critic. And Gemma Arterton, I love her. She plays Nia Land, an actress who is determined to win his approval. The critic is also includes a lot of maybe subterfuge, blackmail, ambition, deception, and then ultimately Jimmy finds himself in the crosshairs of his newspaper's new owner, David Brooke, played by Mark Strong, another great actor. So you have three great actors in the critic: Ian McKellen, Gemma Arterton, and Mark Strong, all great actors. Directed by Anand Tucker, who Eric interviewed. We have that interview on the latest CinemAddicts interview podcast feed. So please listen to that Eric's interview with Anand Tucker. Eric, your thoughts on The Critic, which by the way hits
All right.
theaters September 13th. Yes.
So the plot description that you gave was subterfuge. It seems like this would be a spy movie. It's
Oh, my bad.
not.
Okay. I meant fudge. It's a fudgy movie. It's a subterfuge.
No, but there is like some blackmail and some deception going on for sure.
Okay.
Um, Basically, Ian McKellen is Jimmy Erskine, Erskine, and he's a critic. I was going to say movie critic, but they didn't have movies back in the day.
No, they had silence, but not real movie critics. Like I know what you're saying. They didn't have established
He
movie
would
critics.
he would review plays,
Okay.
and then but he's kind of like a hot shot critic. Like everyone reads him, everyone respects him. Although I don't know why, because he's kind of an a-hole. Um, he's kind of like one of the kind of critics that kind of get off on the smell of their own farts and like to just seemingly like to trash people on a whim. There's a
Mm.
part in there where he's kind of he's talking to one of the actors that who's play panned, and then he said something like oh man, I cannot remember the line. Something to the effect of I do this because I see the potential. Like you're so much better than this, and get better. But I think that's kind of crap, if I'm being honest. And I don't think he actually believes that. And moreover, with what he gets involved in, I don't know how much of that I should say. I think he's just kind of an opportunist and kind of yeah, he's not he's not a very redeemable person.
So what is the joy in watching this movie? Seeing his maybe inevitable downfall or his struggles, comeuppance?
Well, I just like kind of the commentary on criticism in general that's laid out in this. Now, the plot doesn't really go much into that commentary. The plot goes like somewhere way different. But then that was another thing I enjoyed about this, and why I'm kind of don't want to give too much of that away, because about halfway through the movie, maybe a third of the way through the movie, somewhere around there, a turn happens, or not so much a turn or like a twist, but now we're knowing what this movie's really about. And then I'm kind of leaning forward a little bit, going, "All right, wait a second. I didn't know I was watching this movie, but now I'm interested." The movie looks great, cinematography, all that. Acting's obviously awesome. In fact, Mark Strong,
He's so good.
I saw that Mark Strong was in it. I'm like, wait, who is Mark Strong?
Right.
Looked up his character's name, started watching the movie, like just kind of skimming through the movie. Oh, he's that guy.
Yeah.
He was like
He's
one of the main guys to
in
I
everything.
didn't
He's
I
that
did
guy in everything, right?
he completely Gary Oldman me in this. I'm like, I had no idea that was Mark Strong the whole time.
Yeah, he was in what is that movie that from the Borat guy? He started. Remember, he was the
Oh, the
brother.
Sacha Baron Cohen,
Yeah, the
Brothers Bloom, I think.
yeah
Or
yeah he was one of the brother. He's the brother. So he's that. So isn't that cool? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
there you go.
and he was on Robin Hood. He's a very good actor, very very good
Um,
actor. So
but yeah, this is based on a novel Curtain Call by Anthony Quinn. I actually kind of want to read the book now.
oh, okay.
Uh,
So now
it-
the fact that you want to read the book means you enjoyed the film.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I can't remember what. The Dark Tower.
Mm.
I've not read Stephen King's The Dark Tower. I went and watched the movie. I'm like, maybe I don't need to read the Dark Tower. They're like, no, it's real good. I'm like, well, not interested. That
Not
movie just
into,
turned me off.
but what's interesting
Might
was,
be the greatest thing ever.
yeah, what's interesting is Eric, if you listen to Eric's interview with Anand Tucker, he mentions in the Critic that the actual Critic, which like I think Eric you mentioned in the book that it's based on, is just one character in that book. And then what Anand Tucker did and screenwriter, what they did was they extrapolated on that character in the Critic. So it's very interesting if Eric actually does go back and read the book, you'll get to see a whole new world open up for you because that's interesting regarding the Critic. Anyways, in theaters September 13th. Eric, what is your rating on the movie?
Uh, Really quick before that. So the cinematographer is David Higgs.
Mm.
And I can't stress this enough because it's kind of like a period movie. And I think a lot of times I don't like them because they
They're
just
not your
look
type.
flat and boring. They look flat and boring. And unless you have like a really great story, uh, to kind of break through that, it's usually kind of a slog to get through. That wasn't the case here because it looked fantastic, and I just wanted to point them out. And they're the DP and Rock and Rolla, a bunch of stuff, nothing I really recognized, but I saw Rock and Rolla, and it was like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, this thing looks pretty fantastic, and
Okay.
I think I would go 4.5 on this.
Oh my God, 4.5 stars on the
I
Critic. This is not your movie, Eric. Are you?
No, it's not.
That
But
is
see,
amazing.
I think right now I'm thinking like it's 4-star movie, but it overcame that hump of it's like everything I don't like in movies, and it found a way to make me enjoy it and lean forward instead of leaning back, crossing my arms, going, "Oh, when does this get over?" So I think just overcoming that hurdle gives it an extra half-star bump. But yeah, and I wish I didn't like this because the conversation I had with Anand, it would have been great to just tear this movie apart and then have that conversation about like where I'm wrong, where what his intentions were. We'll have to wait for the next one. Hopefully, I hate that one, and then we can have that conversation. But it's not going to happen here.
What's interesting is when Eric mentions this, it's a little bit also in jest because of his interview with Anand Tucker, which I think is very good. You need to listen to it. Anand Tucker is also, I don't know if you agree with this because you did the interview, but I'm listening to it, okay? He's very humble. He mentioned movies that he thought was of his own that he directed that he thought was just okay. He mentioned Hillary and Jackie, about bad because Eric asked him bad reviews that he's received, and he said rightfully so. Maybe he got a little bit of correct reviews, negative reviews on Hillary and Jackie. I think he's proud of it, but he sees its flaws. And then he also mentioned that Amy Adams film. I think was that Amy Adams. There's a movie called Leap Year, that he directed. So it's a very truthful
I mean,
interview
you know
that he
what?
has with Anand
It,
Tucker.
he's definitely very like upfront about a bunch of stuff, and
Self-effacing, yeah, yeah,
not no, well, not just self-effacing, but like like you can the self of or like yeah, self-effacing or whatever, like that's usually like hyperbole on yourself. Like you don't actually mean it, you
understand.
don't actually
Yeah,
believe it, but it's kind of a joke. But I think just like as earnest as he was about everything, I'm sure that whatever flaws there are in the critic, there's probably much less than his previous movies, probably because he's done his previous movies,
hmm.
saw the flaws in them and says, I'm not doing that again. And then made the
Interesting.
next movie, made the next one's a little better. And then it brought him finally to the critic where, I mean, I didn't give a 6.9, so he didn't nail it,
But you
but he
gave it four
got
and a half.
he got pretty close, I think.
Eric, you mentioned the review. You mentioned this word called earnest. I'm trying to look it up on Google. How do you spell earnest? Is it
It's like
ERN?
it
Does
ends
that
with
mean?
goes to camp
Okay, so that is Tucker, the earnest filmmaker behind the
or
critic.
scared stupid. Sometimes it ends with scared stupid.
Okay, so Eric gives, wow. This completely surprised me. I thought Eric was going to give The Critic 3.5 stars. He gives it 4.5 stars, again in theaters September 13th.